13 things every older adult should hear at least once. Welcome back to Elderly Heart Talks. I am so grateful you are here today. I want you to take a moment, find a comfortable spot, and listen closely because what we are about to discuss today is not just a list of advice, it is about your freedom. As we move through our later years, the world can sometimes make us feel invisible, as if our voices no longer carry the same weight. But I am here to tell you that your life, your boundaries, and your peace are more important now than they have ever been. That is why today, I want to share with you a very special message titled, 13 Things Every Older Adult Should Hear at Least Once in Life, to ease the heart, release the worry, and restore peace. These 13 lessons were gathered from people just like you folks who have lived through decades of joys, disappointments, and quiet moments of understanding. These are not commands, but soft, honest truths that touch exactly the places where aging can feel a little heavy. I hope that as you listen, your heart feels a little lighter, and you remember that you deserve a life that still belongs to you. By the end of this, I want you to look in the mirror and say with confidence, I am doing life right. The first thing I want to share with you is this: your wallet is your fortress. And a fortress only stays safe if you keep the gates closed. Think of Robert, a retired engineer from Ohio. Robert is a kind man who worked hard for 40 years, and he loved his children so much that he wanted them to know everything. One Sunday afternoon, he sat them down and showed them his entire bank statement. He showed them his retirement funds and exactly how much equity he had in his home, thinking it would bring the family closer. But almost overnight, something shifted. Robert noticed that he wasn't just dad anymore. In the eyes of his children, he had suddenly become a loan officer. The Sunday visits changed from, "How are you feeling, Dad?" to subtle hints about, "Since you have that extra cushion, maybe you could help us with a down payment." Listen to me closely. Your savings, your retirement, and your home equity. Those are not just numbers. They are your dignity. They are your independence. In our culture, there is so much pressure to be transparent with family, but you do not owe anyone a full financial breakdown. Keeping your finances private isn't being secretive, it is being wise. It ensures that when your family visits, they are there for your company, not your capital. When you keep those gates closed, you protect the peace in your home and the respect in your relationships. If you have firm boundaries with your money, you're doing life right. Second, we have to remember that it is far better to win the peace than to win the argument. Think about it at 75 years old. Winning a heated debate with your spouse about something that happened all the way back in 1994 does not give you a trophy. It does not make your life any better. It only gives you a cold, quiet house and a heavy heart. I remember a woman named Margaret once telling me, "I spent years trying to prove I was right about every little thing. But one day, I just stopped. I stopped trying to be right, and I started trying to be kind." Margaret changed her tone, and suddenly, her breakfast table did not feel like a courtroom anymore. It felt like a sanctuary. In our younger years, we fight so hard to be heard. But in these later years, the person sitting across from you is often the only one who truly knows your history. They are the ones who know how you take your coffee and remember the names of the people you have lost. Why trade that closeness for the hollow victory of an argument? Choose peace. Choose the softness of a kind word over the sharpness of a corrected fact. When you let the small things go, you realize that a warm home is worth so much more than a proven point. If you are choosing a soft word over a sharp one today, you're doing life right. Third, I want to talk about something that many of us find difficult to say out loud. You are a grandparent, not a 24/7 nanny. We all love our grandkids. There is no joy quite like seeing those little faces light up when they see you. But we have to look at the reality of our own well-being. Science shows us that chronic stress in our later years can weaken our immune system significantly. It takes a toll that we cannot always see until it is too late. I think of Susan, who spent 40 years working and looked forward to her golden years of rest. But then, she found herself spending every single day exhausting her back and her bank account to do a job that truly belongs to the parents. She loved those children, but she was running on empty. Listen to me. You have already raised your children. You have done that work. Can you help out? Yes, absolutely. But should you sacrifice your physical health and your peace of mind to be a full-time caregiver again? No. Your retirement belongs to you. Your health belongs to you. It is okay to be the grandparent who gives the hugs and the treats, but it is also okay to protect your own energy. If you know how to say not today to babysitting because you need to rest, you're doing life right. Fourth, we have to talk about that quiet in the house, because loneliness is a feeling, not a reason to rush. I know how it feels when the sun goes down and the evenings get very, very quiet. It can be tempting to reach for any hand just to fill that empty space. But remember the story of Frank. Frank was a widower who hated eating dinner alone, so he remarried quickly just to drown out the silence. Before long, he realized he was living with a total stranger, someone who didn't understand his history, didn't respect his daily routine, and made his life more stressful than it ever was when he was alone. Listen to me. Loneliness is hard. There is no denying that. But a bad marriage at 70 is much, much harder. A relationship at this stage of life should be a source of comfort, not a source of conflict. It is okay to take it slow. It is okay to wait for someone who truly brings peace into your heart. Being alone does not mean you are unloved. It often means you are free to live exactly how you choose. If you have found a way to be comfortable in your own quiet company, and you aren't rushing into things just to escape the silence, you're doing life right. Fifth, I want to remind you that your home is your anchor. So please, do not let it go too soon. In America today, you will constantly hear people, even well-meaning family members, telling you it is time to downsize. They say it will simplify your life or make things easier to manage. But what they often overlook is that your home is so much more than a piece of real estate. It is the keeper of your history. It is the place where you know exactly how many steps it takes to reach the kitchen in the dark. And you know just how the afternoon sun warms your favorite chair. I think of Margaret, who was pressured to move into a tiny assisted living apartment because her kids thought her house was too much work. But once she moved, she lost her garden. She lost her familiar neighbors, and she felt like a guest in someone else's world. The truth is, if you can still walk down to your mailbox and you still love the way the light looks in your kitchen every morning, then you should stay right where you are. Research actually shows us that aging in place is incredibly good for your brain. It keeps your mind sharper because you are navigating a world you know by heart. So, if you are standing your ground and keeping your own space for as long as it brings you comfort, then you are truly living life the way it was meant to be lived. Sixth, let's talk about what I like to call the Blackberry rule. It is a simple truth that staying independent is what keeps you cherished. Think about a wild blackberry bush in late summer. When those berries are firm, dark, and holding strong to the branch, everyone wants to pick them. They are valued. But once they lose their strength, fall to the ground, and get crushed, people just step over them without a second thought. It sounds a bit harsh. I know, but it is a reality of human nature that we have to face. In our culture, independence is the foundation of respect. When you manage your own doctor's appointments, when you drive yourself to meet a friend for coffee, or when you handle your own daily chores, you are maintaining your position as the captain of your own ship. It is not that your children do not love you, they do, but caregiving is a heavy, exhausting weight. When you stay independent, your time with your family stays sweet because they are coming to visit you, not to manage your life. Every day that you get up and handle your own business, you are preserving your dignity and your freedom. And honestly, seeing you take charge of your own life like that lets everyone know that you are still the strong, capable person you have always been. That is exactly how you do life right. Seventh, we need to talk about one of the golden rules of family harmony. Don't overstay your welcome, even if it is at your own child's house. I know how much we miss them. I know how much we want to soak up every second with our grandchildren. But there is a rhythm to every household. And even the most loving daughter or son has a routine they have worked hard to build. Think of it this way. 3 days is usually a blessing, a wonderful time of connection and laughter. But after 2 weeks, That is when the rhythm starts to break, and you might start feeling like a burden rather than a guest. I remember a gentleman named Arthur who used to visit his son every summer. He had a rule. He would always leave on a Tuesday, just when the grandkids were begging him to stay one more day. He told me, "I want to leave while they are still sad to see me go, not when they are relieved to see the car pull out of the driveway." There is a certain power in valuing your own bed and your own morning coffee more than their guest room. When you keep your visits short and sweet, you protect the relationship. You ensure that the next invitation comes from a place of genuine longing, not obligation. Recognizing the beauty of your own front door and knowing when it is time to head home. That is a sign of a person who is doing life exactly right. Eighth, I want to talk to you about the silence. It can be hard when the phone doesn't ring, but you have to learn to forgive their silence. They are in what I call the thick of it. If your son didn't call this week, or your daughter's texts have been short, please try not to take it personally. It is almost never a lack of love. It is usually just a lack of sleep and a surplus of stress. They are right in the middle of the storm, fighting those same battles with careers, mortgage payments, and raising kids that you fought so bravely decades ago. I know it's tempting to feel forgotten, but letting resentment build up is a heavy weight to carry. In fact, medical studies have shown that holding on to that kind of chronic bitterness can actually increase your risk of heart disease by 19%. Your health is too precious to waste on keeping score. Think of it as a gift you give to them and to yourself. By being the one who understands, the one who doesn't demand, you become their safe harbor rather than another chore on their to-do list. When you can love them freely, without counting the days since the last phone call, you are protecting your own heart in more ways than one. Choosing to love your family without a scorecard. That is a beautiful way to show you are doing life right. Ninth, you have to accept that worrying does not solve problems. I'm being very specific here. I'm talking about those nights when it's 3 a.m. The house is dead quiet, and you're lying there, staring at the ceiling. You start looping the same thoughts over and over. Maybe it's your daughter's marriage hitting a rough patch, your grandson's failing grades, or even that new ache in your hip you're convinced is something serious. You need to understand a cold, hard fact. Thinking about a problem at night has zero power to change what happens tomorrow. It's just a mental loop. It burns up your mental energy and produces absolutely no practical solutions. All it really does is leave you exhausted, shaky, and less capable of actually being a helpful parent or grandparent when the sun comes up. Take George, for example. He's a guy I knew who spent every night fixing his family's problems in his head. He thought he was being responsible, but he was just becoming a wreck. By the time breakfast rolled around, he was so tired and irritable that he'd snap at the very people he was worried about. His lack of sleep actually caused more tension in his family than the original problems ever did. It wasn't until he finally told himself, "I can't control the world from my bed," and chose to prioritize his sleep that his health and his relationships actually started to improve. There is a scientific side to this too. When you worry like that, your body spikes your cortisol and stress hormones. For someone at our age, that is dangerous. It wears down your heart and weakens your immune system. At night, your only job, your only responsibility is to let your body recover. The world is going to keep turning whether you are awake to watch it or not. If you can prioritize your actual physical rest over that useless mental noise, you are doing life right. 10th, you have to stay out of the kitchen of conflict. This is about knowing exactly where your boundaries are when it comes to your adult children's lives. I'm talking about their marriage, the way they're raising their kids, or how they spend their money. Unless there is an absolute emergency, what I call a fire, you have to resist the urge to jump in and try to fix it. It's hard to watch them struggle, I know. But you have to let them learn their own lessons, just like you did. Your job has shifted now. You are meant to be the calm harbor they return to for peace, not the captain of their ship trying to steer every move they make. When you interfere, even with the best intentions, you often create more heat and more friction. Think about Robert. He couldn't stop giving his son constructive criticism about how to discipline the grandkids. Every Sunday dinner became a battleground because Robert felt he knew better. Eventually, the invitations to dinner stopped coming. Robert had to learn the hard way that his opinion wasn't more valuable than his relationship with his son. Once he learned to keep his mouth shut and just be grandpa, the doors to their home opened right back up. The reality is, advice is only helpful when it's actually asked for. If you force your wisdom on them, they won't hear it, they'll only feel judged. When you stay out of their kitchen, you allow them to grow, and you keep your own blood pressure down in the process. 11th, your health is your wealth, but don't let it become your obsession. Look, we all know we have to take care of ourselves at this age. You go for the walks, you eat your greens, and you show up to your checkups. That's just common sense. But there's a line you shouldn't cross where your health becomes the only thing you think about. I see people our age spending 4 or 5 hours every single day on the internet, reading about rare diseases they don't even have, or symptoms they've never felt. You have to realize that anxiety is a powerful thing. It can actually mimic physical pain. If you spend all day looking for a problem, your brain will eventually find one, and you'll start feeling aches and pains that are caused by stress rather than actual illness. You end up living in a state of constant fear, which is probably worse for your heart than the things you're actually worried about. Take a look at Edward. He became so obsessed with his blood pressure and his heart rate that he stopped going out to lunch with his friends because he was afraid the food or the excitement would spike his numbers. He was healthy on paper, but he was miserable and isolated. He was so busy monitoring his life that he completely forgot to live it. Your body is a vehicle to get you through the world, not a museum piece that needs to be polished every hour. Take care of it, sir, but then get out of the house and use it. Focus on what your body can still do, like walking to the park or playing with your dog, instead of constantly scanning it for signs of what might go wrong. Being healthy is only useful if it allows you to enjoy your life. If the pursuit of health is making you miserable, you've missed the whole point. 12th, you need to start spending the good money on yourself right now. There is a common habit among our generation to keep everything nice tucked away for a special occasion that never seems to arrive. I'm talking about that vacation fund you've been building for years, or even the expensive china sitting in the cabinet collecting dust. You have to ask yourself, what exactly are you waiting for? Someday isn't a date on the calendar, it is already here. I see so many people holding back, eating the cheapest meals and staying home to save for their heirs. But listen to me, your kids and grandkids would much rather see you enjoying your life than inherit a few extra dollars after you're gone. You spent 40 or 50 years working hard, making sacrifices, and building a safety net. The safety net is finished. It's time to actually walk on it. I remember a woman named Helen. She had saved for 20 years to take a trip to the coast, but she kept saying she'd go when the timing was better. Eventually, her health declined, and she couldn't make the trip at all. That money just sat in a bank account while she sat in a chair, full of regret. Don't let that be your story. If you want the steak at the restaurant, buy the steak. If you've been dreaming of seeing the ocean, book the trip to the coast this week. You aren't being reckless. You are finally collecting the paycheck for a lifetime of labor. Treating yourself isn't a luxury anymore. It's the whole point of having worked so hard in the first place. You've earned the right to enjoy the fruits of your own life while you still have the energy to do it. 13th, you need to treat your health as the only wealth that actually matters at this stage of your life. We often talk about bank accounts and property, but the reality is that without your mobility and your physical strength, your world starts to shrink very quickly. If you can't walk to the park or stand up easily from your favorite chair, all the money in the world won't buy back that freedom. I'm talking about the simple, non-negotiable daily habits: walking, stretching, and drinking enough water. These aren't just suggestions anymore. They are the maintenance required to keep your independence. You have to protect your physical well-being like it's $1 million locked in a vault. Because, quite frankly, that's exactly what it is worth. Think about Arthur. He was a man who worked hard his whole life, but always said he was too busy to exercise or watch his diet. By the time he retired, he had the money to travel the world. But his knees were so shot and his stamina was so low that he couldn't even make it through an airport. He had the wealth in his bank, but he was bankrupt in his body. He spent his retirement looking out of a window instead of seeing the world he worked so hard to explore. Don't fall into that trap. Every time you choose to take a 20-minute walk or choose water over a sugary soda, you are making a deposit into the only account that allows you to stay the boss of your own life. Your body is the only home you truly have to live in. If you don't take care of the building, it doesn't matter how nice the furniture is. Taking care of your physical self isn't about vanity or trying to look younger. It's about staying capable, staying mobile, and staying in control. When you put in that effort today, you are ensuring that your world stays big and full of possibilities for as long as possible. I promised you 13, but I am giving you a 14th one because you stayed with me until the end. I need you to understand something very clearly. You are not invisible. It is easy to feel like the world is moving too fast and looking right past you, but that is not the truth. Every wrinkle on your face is a map of a battle that you fought and won. Every gray hair on your head is a stripe of wisdom that you earned the hard way. You are not just getting older, you are a proven survivor. You are the heartbeat of your family, providing a foundation for everyone else, even when the house is quiet and you are just sitting there in silence. Your presence alone holds more weight than you realize. Trust me on this. Life does not end when you retire. It does not stop when the kids move out. It just changes the focus. You are moving from a life of doing to a life of being. You have spent decades producing and providing for others. Now, your only job is to simply exist with peace and dignity. If these words reached your heart today, please leave a comment. I mean that. I read every single one of them. I want to know how many of these steps you are actually taking in your own life right now. Tell me, so we can celebrate those wins together. I am so proud of the life you have lived and the person you have become. Subscribe to Elderly Heart Talks for more reflections like these. Until next time, keep your heart light and your peace protected.